Hey everyone, it's Lucas here, and on this video, I want to show you how I'm designing my web applications 5 times faster using AI. So, if you don't know who I am a Bubble.io developer with a Bubble development agency, and designing with AI has dramatically changed my designing workflows and how I present designs to my clients. So, before I used to spend a lot of time in Figma or not take clients that didn't have already designs in Figma. And today I'm able to offer not only development package, but also a design with development package. So I just wanted to show you a little bit about my workflow and the framework that I use to generate these AI designs. I will also want to show you how I'm able to generate design systems and database schemas. So that's really important for the development phase after we build the designs. I want to show you how I'm presenting these AI generated designs to my clients, and also how we can take these designs and move it into Antigravity to create workflows and generate the database and so on. So I think Google AI Studio is very good at generating UI UX designs. You can also build full applications there, but I think Antigravity was built specifically for software engineering. And so this workflow of designing in Google AI Studio and bringing that over to Antigravity to continue generating your applications and connecting the database has been a really powerful workflow. So before we move into the Google AI Studio interface, let me show you a 5-step prompt framework that works really well for me for setting the design foundation when we are prompting AI to design web applications for us. So step one is to define the application and who is it for. So for example, let's say, hey, I'm trying to build an application for freelancers so they can generate invoices for their clients without friction, right? So that would be the app definition and who is it for. Step two would be list every screen. So you can let AI decide what screens they want to create based on, your simple explanation of the product that you want to build. But I find it that the more information that we give, the more direction and the more specific we are about the application that we want to build, we tend to get better results. So, for example, if you say, hey, I want to have a sidebar with pages X, Y, and Z, then it's going to go ahead and create these pages. Whereas if you let the AI decide, we need more iterations until we get the product that we envision. Step three is set the design direction references to real apps. So, what I like to do is to provide a few references of apps that have been created. I like to go to Dribble and find a couple of screenshots for design references, and then I paste that on the prompt. So step four is map the user flow. So again, the more specific we are, the better results that we tend to get. So for example, if we say, hey, we want the user to sign up and then land on the dashboard, and that should happen when they click on that button. So the more specific we are, again, the better results that we tend to get. And step five is iterate. So when something goes wrong, we don't start over. We iterate throughout the process. And the whole idea of this first prompt is to get the foundation going, right? We are going to see some bugs. We are going to see some buttons that don't have any actions behind them. But that's completely normal for a first prompt, right? And so the idea here is that we get a very solid foundation so we can keep iterating later on. So now that we have this out of the way, let me show you how I'm generating these prompts using Claude. I'm here on my Claude desktop app, and essentially I have created this project called Google AI Studio Prompt, and I have given it some instructions. So you are a prompt engineer specialized in generating detailed production-ready prompts for Google AI Studio, Gemini, to design full web applications. Your job is to take a brief app description from the user and transform it into a comprehensive, structured prompt. And so I'm giving it my 5-step framework. So what I do here is to describe the app that I want to generate. And this system prompt or these instructions will be very helpful into creating a prompt that I can simply copy and paste into the Google AI Studio workspace. So let's go ahead and create a simple application for journaling, for example. So what I would do here is say something like, hey man, I'm looking to build a journaling application for people that want to journal in general. And here are the features that I want to include. Obviously, I want the user to be able to create journals. I want the user to be able to create folders as well so they can organize these journals inside folders. And I also want the user to be able to select from templates, right? So perhaps a 5-minute journal or a gratitude journal. So whenever the user chooses a template, they will be prompted to choose a folder that journal or that template will fall into. And I want to be able to create a very simple and modern application with beautiful designs that I will provide images as references. Perfect. So I used Whisperflow to transcribe my audio. And now let's go ahead and create our prompt. So this is the result. We have definition about screens. We have design direction. We have user flow. We have additional notes and so on. So what we can do now is to simply copy this prompt and bring it over to Google AI Studio. Here, what I want to do is to click on build. And this is the general interface that we'll get once we land on the aistudio.google.com, right? So I feel like Google has brought a lot of these AI tools together here. So you can generate images, you can generate videos, and so on. You can also generate full stack applications here. So what I want to do here is to go to apps and click on create a new application. And let's paste our prompt here. So here we can select the model. Google's latest model is Gemini 3.1 Pro. It's incredibly good to generate UI designs. We can give it a system prompt. I'm going to leave this empty for now. You can choose the framework that you want to build on. So React, Next.js, and Angular. I'm going to leave it on React for now. It usually has a very, very good free tier. So you're able to jump in and start creating these UI interfaces right away. And the microphone as well, sometimes you want to dictate what you want to say instead of typing. So it's really useful as well. And I use it a lot when I am iterating in my application. So let's send it over and see what we get. Perfect. So Gemini is working here on building this application. And so I'm going to take some time to explain you how this interface works. So it's very simple, right? So here's the chat. We can write some prompts here. We can also dictate. So there's this button here, speech to text. You can also add files, add images. And what I've noticed here as well, something that I forgot is to include the image references. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is actually pause this, and I'm actually going to paste this again, and let me select a couple of references for us. Let me go to download, and I've selected these two. So these are from Attio. So if you go to Dribble and just type Attio, Attio, you will see a bunch of references there. So let me send this prompt over, and while it works on the design, I'll go ahead and show you this interface. So again, we have the prompt, we have the speech to text, we can add files as well. Here you will see the preview of your application, and you can also see the code as well. So it's still working on the code. I'll show you later how this looks, but essentially you're able to view all the code that it's been generated, and you can also download it as a zip file. Now, here you can share your application with your teammates if you want to. You can share it through a link as well if you choose public, so anyone can view with the link. You can publish your application, so you can push it live for users. You have versionings, you have secrets, you have your integrations, and what's really cool here as well is that you can push it to GitHub. So GitHub would be just a place where your code would live. And it's really useful, especially if you want to bring this into Antigravity later as well, because you can simply just copy the repository and bring it over. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this later in the video. And so we'll be back once this loads so we can see the user interface. Okay, awesome. So here we have it. It is looking really, really nice. What I've noticed here as well is that it took 1,017 seconds. That's a little over 15 minutes. So if this generates for a little over than 10 minutes, just don't be worried. Just let it do its thing. I've also noticed throughout this last week that Google AI Studio, Google models in general have been a little off. And so you can come here to aistudio.google.com/status and check the status of multiple things. So API, multimodal live API, Google AI Studio. So you can see that in a few days in the last week, it had a full outage. I think a lot of people were using, they were having problems with their servers, but so on. Just keep in mind that if something's weird, just come check this page. We might want to save you some time instead of keep trying over again if they're having problems. But here we go. So you can see the action history here. So it shows whatever it's done. It gives you a few descriptions of the pages here, and also it shows you every page as well. So we have journal content, components, layout, and so on. If you now check the code, then you'll be able to see all the code that the AI has generated for this project. And if we come back to preview again, we can see the app. So let's take a look at our app. Let's see what it was able to do with a single prompt. So I've seen here that generally it applied the design system from Atio. I don't know where it got this primary color, this blue primary color. This is not really Atio's system or look at all, but that's fine. It doesn't look too bad. I can see here that the sidebar looks very similar, and everything should be working here very well. So let's see. Let's try to create a new entry. So immediately it just goes to the entry page. Hello, and then we can start writing. I'm assuming it probably didn't work through these, bold and so on. But these are features that we can iterate, right? So exactly what I said, like this is just so we can build the foundation, and then we can keep building if we want to create the workflows and have everything working. But for design purposes, this should be all we need. We might need to iterate a couple of times. This is usually very good to present to the client as a first step, just so you can get an idea on the direction, or even build the full application. And with this design, you can keep iterating if you want to. So great. So you have quick folders, you have all entries. You can even search here. That's cool. So we've included a search, more filters. That's something that we would have to build, which is fine. So folders, even created a pop-up for us. So let's do tennis, for example. Let's choose green. Let's create a new folder here. So we can, jump into the folder, create a new entry for the tennis folder. Let's say this is my tennis journal. So, today's practice, for example, and then I can journal about my tennis practice today. So if I can save my entry, it comes here. That's fine. If I go to the folder, the journal is here. Awesome. So if I go to templates, I can also find different templates here. So gratitude journal. Let's try gratitude journal. So the prompts included today, I'm thankful for someone who made my smile today was a small win I had today was. Okay, so this is great. If we click on use this template, now we need to select the folder. So let's do on the tennis, let's do it on a personal, for example. So it placed this journal on the personal. Now we can fill in our template and just save this. Obviously, it's not connected to the database. It's just storing temporary data, or it's just creating a JSON file to store this data. But if you want to connect to this app to a database, then you could for sure. Oh, even built the settings. That's cool. So dark mode, obviously didn't implement dark mode, but that's fine. Delete account, save changes, and so on. So look, honestly, this is very, very good for a single prompt, and we can obviously iterate through this. So really amazing what it can build. Gemini 3.1 Pro especially is really, really good at creating these UI designs. You just have it to prompt it correctly, provide design references, and maybe instruct a little bit on what pages and the user flows that you want to create. So now that we have the designs here, let me show you how we can create the database schema for this project in case we're handing this over to a developer. It's a lot easier if they already have the database schema in hand. So to generate the database, what I'll go ahead and do is to copy and paste this prompt that I have generated. Keep in mind that all the prompts here throughout this project, including the system prompt that I used on the Claude project to be able to generate my Gemini prompt, will be on my community. I will leave the link down below. It is completely free. You can just join and copy. I'll leave this slide there as well. So it's completely free to join. Sign up down below. So my whole strategy here to generate the database is essentially asking the AI agent to create a database design folder, and inside this folder, create the ERD-MD file. So it essentially will use this prompt to generate the ERD-MD file to include the tables, the fields, the relationships, the junction tables, a summary section, and it should essentially lay down all the system for us. And to be able to visualize this, we are going to go ahead to Miro and generate this ERD diagram that we're also able to edit and send to our clients at the end if we want to as well. One pro of generating this ERD.md file is that if we later on take it to Antigravity, the AI agent will already have access to this database. So, for example, if we want to connect our app to Supabase, we can simply say, hey, check out this file. We've already created this diagram. We simply want to implement this into Supabase. And so we're always a step ahead. And instead of letting the assistant just generate the database again, we can simply just create the database directly. So let's go to Google AI Studio and paste this prompt to see the result. So here in AI Studio, the first thing that I'm going to do here for generating the database system is to change the model to Flash. It's basically just a matter of speed for this video, but you can keep it on Pro. So we'll come back here once it has generated. Great. So it looks like it has generated the complete relational database schema. And so if we go ahead on our code and we check the database design folder for the erd.md, we'll see here that it laid out all the table summary, the tables, the user settings, folders, templates. So all the tables here, all the relationships and so on. So what we can do now is to simply copy all this database and go over to Miro. So here on Miro, what I'm going to go ahead and do is to create a new board. And look, there might be easier ways to visualize this diagram. This is just what I do on my real client workflow. I essentially just create this diagram here and send it off to the client to review and so on, or to present my database plan to them. So it's very, very simple to generate here. So essentially, I'll just click here on this sidekick. That's what they call it. And here I'm just going to say, please generate the ERD below. And then I'm going to copy the entire ERD file, and it's going to go ahead and generate for us here in the page. So in a second, we will see the sidekick in action. Let's do it. So it just takes a couple of seconds. The agent's working on the background, and bam. So has finished generating for us in a matter of seconds. Let me just add this to Canvas, and now we're able to see all of our tables and the relationships and so on. So what's really great about this is that this is editable as well. So essentially you can add rows here. So add row above, add row below, and so you can keep iterating and constructing your database here if you need to. Before sending to the client, you can change relationships. You can connect things as well. So essentially, this is just a very, very nice way to visualize your database and to send it off to the client. So now let's go ahead and see how we can generate our design system. Now, a design system is basically a file that lays out the primary colors, typography, spacing, scales, border radius, shadows, component styles for buttons, cards, and modals, overlays, so on. And so it's basically a file that will lay out the design system, the components, and if we take this into Antigravity, for example, how does our agent follow our design system that we have already created for this project in Google AI Studio specifically. So we're going to use a very similar approach to what we've done with the ERD file. So this is the prompt that I've created here. So this is going to be in the community as well. So sign up to copy this prompt there. But essentially, I want to create this folder called Design System. And inside, I want to create this file called Design Tokens. And then I'm going to ask Google AI Studio, Gemini, to create a page in the app to visualize this. So there might be better ways to export this, or if you want to create a completely new app just to visualize design system, then you can as well. I'm just going to do this for the sake of simplicity to just show you how we are able to translate all of our design to this design token MD file. So let's go over to AI Studio and copy and paste this prompt there. I'm still going to use the Gemini Flash for this one, just for the sake of speed. And in a few seconds, it should generate our design system that we'll be able to visualize here in the screen. Okay, so it looks like it has finished generating the design tokens for us. So if we go to the code, we can find the folder design system and design tokens. Great. So what I forgot to do is to actually ask Gemini to visualize this for us. So let's say, please create a new sidebar page for the design system and display the design system on the design token.md file we have just created. So in a few seconds, it will essentially display a new page here. Obviously, we won't send that to the client, but just so we can visualize here in this video how we can create this file and then visualize our design system. All right, so we have the design system tab here, and we can now visualize the entire design system that the agent used to create our application. So this is great. Look, you can send this to a developer that's going to build the application, or if since we have this file, this design token MD file on our code base, if we use to move this project into Antigravity, the AI agent will already have access to our design file. And if you ask it to create a new feature, it will essentially pull the reference from the design file that we have created and create this new feature according to our brand. So that is really, really cool to see, and also really, really incredible that we're able to generate this with a single prompt. So have typography, buttons, feedback status, spacing, layout, and so on. We can improve the prompt for this to show the modals, I believe. We can do something a little bit more refined here, but just as an example, this is incredible to see that we're able to generate this design system like this. Okay, now that we've learned how to design on AI Studio, how to use the prompt to generate the design system and the database schema, let me show you how I present all of this to my client. Now, for client presentation, there's usually two options that I go for. So one of them is sharing the link, but we have to be careful with this because if we share the link from our Google AI Studio, the client's also able to see our prompt. And so just make sure that you're letting the client know that you're designing with AI and so on. But it's usually fine. Usually just film a quick loom of the application, just letting the client know and teaching the client where to click and how to manage and go through all the pages of the application. So this is one option. And the other option, which I like the most, but I couldn't really find so far a more optimized way to bring all these that live on Google AI Studio to Figma. But I like Figma essentially for the option to comment on the screen. So if the client needs to change something on a screen, it's way better to just place a comment on that specific screen rather than, going through messages and back and forth trying to explain where exactly the client needs to change something, right? So I usually just take screenshots of all the application and lay these screens on Figma so I can share the file with the client and they can comment on top of it. So I'll quickly show you how to do both ways. So the first one, sharing the link here on Google AI Studio. So I'm going to get out of the preview mode. I'm going to come here to settings and I can click on share and choose public. So anyone with the link can view. So as long as you set this to anyone with the link can view, they are able to access the application through the link. Obviously, you can also invite them to the project if you want to. They will most likely have to log in with their Google account and then they will be able to see the app. Okay, so I've logged in with my Google account. I can see the app here, but I also can see the messages on the sidebar here. So one option too is that you can click here on link setting and click on default to full screen. So whenever the client opens the application through this link, then they will essentially see the full screen. Let me try this again, 1 second. Yeah, okay. I don't think it worked because I was already logged in, but this is also an option for you. So the other way that I like to do it is to simply share a Figma file with the client and paste the screenshots there. So let me show you just quickly what I mean by that. So coming here to, I've created, this is a real client project that I've done. And so I've essentially just created AI generated screens on Google AI Studio and I've placed the screenshots here. And so the client's able to comment on top of it and explain exactly where in it's changing, adjusting, or if they want to add a new feature. So this is great. This is good client collaboration, really easy to do. Again, haven't found an easier option than to take screenshots and paste it here. It's a little bit of manual work, but it's worth it for the fact that they can comment on top of it. So, with that being said, I want to show you how to take this whole project into Antigravity to keep building on it and connect the database and so on. I'm not going to go too deep, but I want to show you how to do it. So again, like I said, Google AI Studio is very, very optimized for design. I think it has already some skills built in for generating UI UX designs, and Antigravity is more optimized for software development. You can download and add to your project some skills, UI UX skills, SEO skills, backend skills, and so on, but it's more of a software engineering thing rather than focused primarily on design. So what we can do here on our Google AI Studio project is to clone our project to GitHub. And then we can essentially go to Antigravity and pull that project from GitHub and start changing our application, and then push again to GitHub. So GitHub is essentially where the code lives. And from GitHub, we can also, deploy our application using Vercel or, any other host provider, right? And so, like I mentioned, what's really good about this as well is that you can leverage directly the design and database files that we've created. So let's first go to AI Studio again and see how we can push the code to GitHub, and then let's move to Antigravity. So here on Google AI Studio, we want to go to settings, and here at the end, we have GitHub. So new repository name, let's call this journal app. The description will be journal app as well. If you don't want anyone to access the code of your application, just leave it private. Otherwise, you can leave it public, but I'll leave it in private for now. And let's create a GitHub repository. It will sync our changes. It will, create our repository. I'm already logged in, or, I've signed up to GitHub, already. So in the process of doing this, it will ask you to log in or sign up before it syncs to a specific project on your GitHub. So it apparently, we have 26 changes files, but we didn't have any file because it's a new project. So we can simply stage and commit all the changes, and it's going to push all the code to GitHub. So we've pushed everything here. Every time you want to sync to GitHub, you can come here and push and commit all the files again. But essentially, if we click here on this link, it will take us to our GitHub project. And if we click here on the code, then you will see here this link that we should copy and bring it over to Antigravity. So here on Antigravity, this is a desktop app that you can download, but you can simply click here on Open Folder. I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder here for this project. So let's say Journal app, and let's select this folder. So yes, I trust the authors. Now here on the left, we will be able to see our files. Here in the middle, we will see our code. And here in the left is basically a chat that we're going to be talking to our agent. We can choose here the models. So Gemini 3.1, high and low. We have Flash, and we also have a few models from Claude as well. So what I'm going to want to say here is something like clone the repo and then paste the link here that we've copied from GitHub. So it will essentially just pull all the code from GitHub. So let's see what it says. Perfect. So the repo has been successfully cloned at your workspace. Now we can see here that we have the database folder, we have the design system folder, we have some other files here that the AI has generated. If we come to source and we come to pages, we will see here that we have the code for all the pages as well. Look, I'm not going to go too deep into Antigravity. I can do a specific video for this, but what I want to show here essentially is just something like this. You can reference folders here. So if you type at, you'll be able to select files, for example, and then you can select. So I don't see the file here. So let's do like folders, for example. So if I just type database design, then you're able to reference this folder to the agent and say something like build my Supabase database and make sure that you're taking a look at this folder. And so it's going to go ahead and read this folder, read the ERDMD file, and it's going to create the database accordingly. So you can also do that for the design system. If you're creating a new feature, you can reference the design system, so it will create a new feature according to your brand. Now, what we can also do is to say something like run this app. Right. And so it's going to go ahead and generate the preview for us. It is also going to install some modules. So like I said, Google AI Studio already has some skills. It already has packages downloaded. And here on Antigravity, like it's more for software engineers. And so we're going to have to download the packages, download the skills that we want. It's a little bit more raw, but at the same time, it's better just creating logic and accessing and creating the database and so on. But essentially, it is able to download the packages successfully. It created a localhost for us. And so if we just click here on this localhost, it will open up the application for us. And now what we can do here on Antigravity is to keep building on our application. And then as we make the changes, we can simply say push to GitHub, and then you connect your GitHub and push to that specific repo that we saved our code to begin with. So to finalize this video, I just want to make an invitation for you guys and just say this whole YouTube thing is very new to me. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm figuring out as I go. So I invite you to come along and follow my journey. So if you like these videos, just subscribe, just click the like down below so I know that you're liking the videos, and I will continue to build videos like this. So what I'm working on is No Code Buffs, which is a community for no code builders to connect, learn, and ship faster. So I definitely recommend that you join. It's completely free. And you can join the community at nocodebuffs.com to meet new people. You can ask questions there. There's a bunch of good resources and so on. And I'm also building qualio forms. So myself as a freelancer, I've struggled a lot with discovery calls. I was always jumping into calls unprepared. And so I wanted to fix this problem for myself, which I've been able to fix by creating a form before the call. And I've built Qualio so that I can have AI analyze this form responses, generate a score for the lead. And so it essentially qualifies the lead before they even hit my calendar. I was able to solve this problem for myself. I wanted to put this tool out there, and I'm honestly still in the discovery phase. I don't want to sell you anything. The only thing that I ask is for honest feedback. So if you could go to Qualio Forms, create your account, create some forms, you can use it on your workflows as well, and just let me know what works, what doesn't work, if it actually solves a problem, or if I'm trying to solve a problem that no one has. So this feedback is really, really appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. I don't know if you watched this far, but if you did, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.